I use this lens as a backup. It has an extended zoom range and, although not part of the Pro range, its quality is good enough for publication. It does not have an image stabilizer, so I rely on the one in the camera. I show the images without cropping. I save the RAW and make corrections in Adobe Lightroom. For me, the River Lee is a hidden landscape, particularly the upper reaches before it enters Greater London. We see one of the benefits of Micro Four Thirds, extended depth of field, enhanced by f11 and the wide-angle end of the optic. Everything is sharp, as it should be, even hand-holding. This is seen to greater effect with this shot. Also, I had to be quick because I wanted the boat in the shot, and I nearly missed it. I keep the white balance on auto, as it can be modified in post-production. When saving direct to a JPEG, it needs to be correct at photography, as it can be more difficult to change later. Much of my photography is achieved by walking, and whilst I can still just about reach the heights, I am no longer good on uneven ground. This shot has a welcoming presence and invitation to pass. Photographically, I could have done without the iron bar, and now, unfortunately, in respect of passing across to the promised land, in a physical sense, of course. I am on safer ground here. Broadgate occupies the site of former Broad Street Station. Exchange Square sits over the entrance to Liverpool Street Station, guarded by a rather large Venus. Incredible depth of field, even at f8, helped by the hyperfocal distance, that is, focusing in about a third, around about the roof of the train shed. However, don't be fooled into thinking that you cannot have differential focusing with Micro Four Thirds. If you understand traditional photography, it is not difficult. The numbers related to apertures and lens focal lengths might be different, but the results, yes, they look similar to full frame and 35mm film. This is the type of shot that might benefit from HDR, but that would be difficult with moving cars and in an environment where using a tripod may not be convenient. Because of the high dynamic range of this shot, the church is in shadow. I spot metered near the sunset, then corrected underexposed shadows in post-production. Some interior photography, but at 200 ISO the shutter speed was still an 80th of a second, helped by a wide-angle lens that reduces camera shake, more difficult, incidentally, on telephoto. Inside churches and stately homes, you have to handhold unless you have special permission to use a tripod. Great difficulty in balancing the sunlit exterior with the dark interior. HDR and a tripod would have made life easier, but I use the same technique as at Hampton by spot metering near the window and correcting in post-production. The cliffs at Hunstanton are amazing, but suffer from erosion, and people still sit underneath them. I was also attracted to the composition suggested by the stones. They lead the eye towards the cliffs, something I always look for when searching for a viewpoint. Huge contrast and depth of field again, but hardly surprising given the aperture, wide-angle lens and spot metering corrected in Adobe Lightroom. You may have noticed that I underexpose most shots by minus 0.3 EV, hardly necessary when saving to RAW. It is a legacy of past practice, when I saved straight to JPEG, which I find difficult to relinquish. If you are interested in the history of the First World War, this place, not far from Epsom Racecourse, is a must. Commenced in 2014, Supported by the Woodland Trust and Sainsbury's, it is a properly managed site that commemorates the fallen. The photo techniques speak for themselves, but this is something unique for your camera. Most examples are taken at 14mm wide angle, but to conclude, here is a shot taken at the other end of the zoom spectrum. It is handheld, more difficult on telephoto, but camera shake is avoided by using 1/640th of a second, and of course the camera's image stabilizer. It is a recent shot, but London from any direction is an ever-changing landscape. As said at the beginning, the 14-150 lens is my backup optic, mainly because of its size and weight. Today I use the smaller 12-45 Pro lens. I rarely use telephoto in landscapes and architecture, but find the extra wide angle useful. Another program about this optic soon? Well, wait and see.